Hello and welcome back to Talking Wanderers. With me today is Mark Isles and we'll be analysing last weekend's defeat at West Brom. Mark, it was the same team as the Stoke game against West Brom, and the second half in particular was a different performance, wasn't it?
Absolutely. First half, very even Steven really. I think West Brom had their own threats and such like, but I think Wanderers created the better chances, and just out of absolutely nowhere, they seem to have developed this habit of playing 45 minutes and that's it. And you know, the first 45 minutes were absolutely fine, but after the second half, they just were second best to every single ball, didn't create a thing in midfield, and paid the price for it. And it must be really frustrating, both as a fan watching it and as a manager who's trying to get the best out of his side. So I wonder if he's got any hair left.
Yeah, and a lot of fans there, weren't there? 3,000. What was the feeling coming out of that away end?
Absolute, genuine disappointment. Clearly, I mean, it's difficult to sum up really, because I think people recognise that the squad there, is capable of doing a hell of a lot better than it is at the minute. And I don't think anybody's got any strict answers to why things are going so badly. But it seems to be a sequence of things. People just don't seem to be able to rack up 2 or 3 games of decent form, and crucially we're paying for it by losing it at the wrong times.
And Carl had a lot of tough talking, didn't he, after the game and since, where he's sort of really not held back, has he?
Well, I mean, Owen is a nice guy, full stop, and sometimes you want him to come out and really lay into people, or you want him to give a really strong opinion one way or the other, but he's very cool and calm with what he says. He's very measured with what he says. But I think after the game, a few of us were surprised with just how clearly frustrated he was with what he'd just seen. And he's making points to say he's trying to mould this team, make this team a younger one, and push the whole club forward. But he's getting very, very frustrated, I think, with certain players, or a collection of players, more experienced players who should really be dragging those young ones through, and they're the ones that are losing the form at this crucial time, and it's going to end up costing them.
I mean, one thing that he said after the game, it was well, it could be quite illuminating. He said the experienced players need to be pulling their weight, doing their bit, and showing me that they still want a career at Bolton Wanderers. I mean, that's very, very strong. I mean, that shows that he's not going to have any truck with experienced players thinking that they're just here to run out any contracts. He really does want to take the club on, doesn't he, and inject young, fresh blood into it. And he's not going to accept the senior players just sitting there, if that's the way that they want to do it, and just holding down a shirt.
That's the thing. I mean, with 11 players out of contract, 11 first team players out of contract, there was always going to be this element that if the club wasn't in a position to offer contracts, that it was maybe slightly awkward almost. And I think this was him laying down the marker to certain people that these contracts won't even get talked about if we don't pull ourselves out quickly. And the only way of doing that is obviously going out there and getting results. And it's maybe counterintuitive, because those same players now are under that pressure to go out there and get performances, and it really is a fascinating time. But that's half his squad that are out of contract in the summer, and it's a big challenge to lay down.
Of course. Now on Saturday, it's not going to be the same team again, or possibly won't be, because Joe Riley is struggling a bit with a hamstring. Is that right?
Yes, it's the old right back jinx again, isn't it? Joe, we understand has pulled his hamstring in training. The club are saying that they're going to keep an eye on it over this week and see how things go, but the indications are that he won't make Everton. And thankfully it seems to have timed well with Dedryck Boyata coming back. He came back from Manchester City ahead of schedule last week. They wanted to keep hold of Dedryck, and he said, no, I want to get back at Wanderers. So maybe that's a straightforward one, but it's not the only right back, as you pointed out before, that seems to have gone by the wayside.
Yeah. Well, Boyata was one who obviously got injured. There was Ricketts.
Yeah.
Tyrone Mears.
Yeah.
Now Joe Riley.
And Greta Steinson's had his problems as well. So really, that position has been a real problem. Whilst by complete contrast at the other end. You've had Paul Robinson, who's been out there alone because of Marcus Alonso rather, having his problem with his foot. He's been on his own, no challenges whatsoever, and Ricardo Gardner's been very much in and out. It's a bit of a mess, really.
Yeah. So Saturday, Everton at home. Obviously, the last home game was a fabulous performance, wasn't it? And again, I mean, we don't get up and down with defeats, do we? And victories. I mean, the Stoke one, we sort of said, yeah, it's a bit, it was a great win, but Stoke came off the back of a 20-hour round trip, didn't they, to Israel? And now this was, it was only 2-1, and it was a decent first half performance. Everton at home, good side. They've just come off the back of a confidence boosting win, because they were looking a little bit there for the taking possibly before that one. What sort of a game do you think we can expect Saturday?
I think Wanderers, it's yet another in the latest long line of must-wins, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, we say about not trying to get up and down with all the performances, but as a point I made at the weekend was that we don't really know where to pitch this Wanderers team at the minute, because everybody, you look at the team sheet, this shouldn't be a side that's struggling, and yet it's a team that's struggling. And where do you draw the line? At what point are we going to turn around and say, yes, actually we're in a relegation fight? So it's got to... You've got to look at it as a game you've got to win. There've got to be some of those elements from that Stoke performance, the tempo, the desire, and more importantly, playing for 90 minutes. And, I think that Owen Coyle would be happy to see his side draw a game at the minute and just have a nice, consistent, even performance.
It's been a while since a draw, isn't it?
22 games.
22 games, I mean, that would be progress, wouldn't it? Let's get a draw, avoid a defeat.
Absolutely. Just more importantly a win, but just some consistency would be nice.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Well, thanks for that, Mark, and join us again next week when we'll see whether Owen Coyle's men have bounced back with a good performance against Everton.